Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. A rabbi, a Buddhist monk, and a Baptist preacher walk into Babylon 5. Sounds like the opening lines of a joke, but it is in the first scene of And the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place, which is this episode of Babylon 5, which is Season 3, Episode 20. Now, the reason that these clerics are there is that they have served to provide information to Babylon 5 of what's going on Earth. Now, of course, since President Clark declared martial law on Earth and Babylon 5 separated and ISN has become more of a propaganda network, they really don't know what the state of the revolt on Earth is, the resistance on Earth is, if in fact it exists. And they are able to find out and bring that information to him on a number of data crystals, which gives them a better idea of where Earth is standing and perhaps a little idea of how they're seen by many people on Earth. Nevertheless, Sheridan is very much laser focused on how to defeat the shadows and has decided that perhaps the way to do it is by using their tactics. And Delenn becomes very upset with him on this point. Meantime, in the other story, we have Londo, who is being visited by a Centauri noble, and Lord Rifa, his old friend and adversary often. And Rifa's made no bones about the fact that he's trying to get Mollari kicked down the totem pole quite a bit. And Mollari, as usual, has a plan in order to prevent that. And it involves G'Kar. He is going to betray G'Kar by giving him false information about his former aide, Na'Toth, who was thought dead in the bombing of the Narn homeworld, and says that she knows where she is. He's being kept prisoner underneath their Shari temple. So with all of this and luring G'Kar to go into this, this starts an entire sequence of events. And we see here that there are a couple of characters that are trying to stay on the moral high ground. It's pointed out, Delenn, of course, she is a member of the religious caste on Minbari, so she is certainly one of the moral centers of the show. And the other is Vir. Vir sees everything that Londo does and approves of very little of it. And in the way he's used in this is something that might break off his collaboration with Londo altogether. Nevertheless, the theme running through the show, which is, do you choose right because it's right, or do you choose wrong because it's effective? And obviously, Londo is the person who chooses effective. And Sheridan is kind of uncertain about whether right is right or effective is better. And this is where the Baptist preacher comes in. He is, first of all, points out that Sheridan is way too busy and holding way too much responsibility over himself for all of this, which he snaps back at the preacher, saying, I'm not here to be lectured. And he mentions a story about a girlfriend that he had, who had a messy house. He had a messy house too, and she came over to clean his house. And he said, why would you do this when your house is as messy as mine? She said, well, I could sweep the floor on mine, and all I'm doing is sweeping the floor. But if I come over here, I'm doing something for you. And it kind of gets through to Sheridan that he needed to bring Delenn in on a lot of his deliberations. And even though she's offered before, and he's kind of turned her away, worried that he would overburden her. But as it turns out, the two of them work together quite well, and what she's been working on is something that changes his attitude quite a bit. So this is a part of what's going on. And they're invited to a church service, which the Baptist preacher is going to conduct, and he's invited the other clerics to go with him, especially Brother Theodore, who, as a Catholic monk, is one who is not his greatest admirer, but they're apparently familiar enough with each other that they trade barbs. And by the way, this is the last appearance by Brother Theo. We won't see him again. He's not dying. It's just they just won't show him again. And so in this service, they sing the hymn that the title is based on, "And the rock cried out, no hiding place." And one of the characters is trying to hide among rocks. So there is kind of a humor and a pathos that's in that all at the same time. So what Straczynski is telling us is that there is doing things right, which will be rewarded, and there's doing things wrong that will work in the short term, but may not give you the happy ending that you'd hoped for. And that says a lot for Londo and Veer in this particular situation. Interesting, I find, with J. Michael Straczynski, who writes all the time. He writes 10 hours a day all the time, and presumes that writing is what keeps him sane. And it has caused him to be somewhat difficult to work with by some people. He has what used to be called Asperger's syndrome. Now it would be autism spectrum disorder, in which he is certainly able to bring himself into the depths of all the characters, and his knowledge of theology, even though he's an atheist, seems to work along that side. He is obsessive by getting everything filled out, of understanding all of this, even if he doesn't believe it. It's kind of interesting. So I'd like to know what you think about this. Please put it in the comments below. Tomorrow we'll do another review on Deep Space Nine, and then Lower Decks later in the week. And if you're into talks about retirement, there is Ron on Retirement. That's my other channel, which will be up in the corner here on how to get there. So I welcome you to subscribe to this and to that, if you will, please. And until next time, don't go far.